Holy hell, this is a long one, fellas. We're gonna be reading through a lot of this quite fast, as Destiny 2 Update 2.8.0 is a big one. Combat systems, abilities. The Titan Barricade got its health raised to 600, originally 500. Barricades now take extra damage from special weapons, anti-barrier weapons, and certain power weapons. The following weapons do 30% extra damage to the barricades: sniper rifles, grenade launchers, linear fusion rifles, machine guns, trace rifles, anti-barrier weapons, and the following weapons do 60% extra damage to barricades, shotguns, and fusion rifles. If there is a man with Lord of Wolves and he is on the other side of your barricade, run shoulder charge, hammer strike, seismic strike, and shield bash. Lunge auto targeting, and its angle was decreased by 50%. Targeted lunge movement distance decreased from 6 meters to 5.5 meters. Untargeted lunge movement distance increased from 4.5 meters to 5.5. Bonus damage versus lower tier PvE combatants reduced by 20%. What? When was the last time you were like, yo, shoulder charge in PvE? Too powerful, man. Moving on, Striker. The Fist of Havoc Super. Increased cost of the light attack from 11.5% to 12.5%. Hot damn, Fist of Havoc's getting a nerf, but Bottom Tree is going from 3% to 4.5%. Essentially a nerf for both. Reduce the cost of heavy attack from 25% to 21%, so they want you to slam more. Code of the Juggernaut, Frontal Assault. Reduce the duration from 15 to 12 seconds. No longer increases weapon equip speed, and the bonus stability has now been decreased from 75 to 44. Hot damn! They really want us to get off a Bottom Tree Striker. Code of the Missile. Oh, please God be good news. Ballistic Slam. Increase the knockback significantly. Now procs inertia override on hits. Bonus damage versus lower tier PvE combatants reduced by 20%. That's whatever. Oh, that's whatever, fellas. Let's just get back to what we just saw. Increased knockback and procs inertia override on hit. Oh, baby. Inertia override. They added a half a second activation delay. What? No, this change was made to allow the Titan to make the most of its duration. Ability indicator now displays time remaining. Okay, I guess that's good, unless you're trying to activate it as you are going into the gunfight, but it's only half a second, so it actually extended. Okay, that's good, that's good. I got kind of concerned. Thunder Crash. Increased damage resistance while in your super from 49% to 53%. Made flight speed more consistent. Increased detonation damage from 3,200 to 3,900. All around excellent changes. Fellas, nothing kills the soul more than being sniped mid-air while trying to go for a Thunder Crash. It's so crushing. Now the impact conversion reduced super energy gain per hit from 4% to 3%, which is tied into that ballistic slam. All right, moving on. Sunbreaker, Code of the Devastator, Burning Maw, reduce idle super duration from 28 seconds to 25. Heavy Slam Explosion is now less likely to deal damage through cover. Added damage fall off to Heavy Slam Explosion. Fix an issue in which ground follow-up attacks can go through walls. All right, so essentially, Burning Maw and all this shenanigans still seems like it's going to have the tracking, but it won't go through cover, as well as damage fall off for the Heavy Slam Explosion, which is pretty interesting. Moving on. Hunters, Gunslinger, Trip Mine Grenades can now stick to enemy players and combatants. Reduce the base damage to 140. Damage remains at 160 when used with Young Ahamkara, Spine Exotic. Wave 1,000 Cuts, Weighted Knife. Reduce the tracking strength. They also changed the tracking style to reduce the chance of the knife being pulled away from its intended target. Arc Strider. Fix an issue in which players and Arc staff were able to dodge infinitely even after the super energy has been depleted. Now, Way of the Current, Tempest Strike. Reduce auto-targeting angle by 50%. Also a reduction by 20% against lower tier PvE combatants. Way of the Wind, Focused Breathing. Increase activation delay while sprinting from 0.25 seconds to 1 second. Reduce dodge recharge rate bonus by 10%. Wow, that's a big one. Now, Combat Meditation. Reduce grenade and melee recharge rate increase while health is critical from 500% to 400%. Dude, I didn't even know it was those numbers. That's insane. Also, Lightning Reflexes. Reduce damage reduction during dodge and PvP from 40% to 32%. Dude, Bungie's really trying to go after Bottom Tree Pole Dancer. Moving on, Night Stalker, Way of the Pathfinder, Mobius Quiver. Increase time limit from 8 seconds to 10 seconds. Increase time limit from 10 to 12 seconds when used with Orpheus Rig. Combat Provision. Increase melee recharge on grenade damage from 6% to now 8%. You also get an increase in grenade recharge when you turn an ally invisible from a whopping 17.5% to now 24%. Wow, I already thought it was good. Now moving on. Warlock, basic melee. Got an extension from 4.5 meters to 5.5 meters. The Warlock melee range is now 1 meter longer than both the Titan and the Hunter melees. All Warlock melee abilities that have 4.5 meter range now have 5.5 meter range. Note, Ophidian aspect melee range is unchanged at 6.5 meters. But again, the big thing with Ophidians, remember it can activate without your melee charge being full. Stormcaller, Storm Trance, damage ramp up now falls off more slowly after releasing the attack button. Now the Attunement of Conduction, Arc Web, reduce the chain damage from 36 to 27, reduce grenade energy recharge on that chain, was 3% inside of PvE, now 2%, 10% inside of PvP, now 8%. They also reduced the chain range from 12 meters to 11 meters. Now, Ionic Blink increased super energy costs from 4% to 6%, reduced range of blink from 4.5 meters to now 4.2 meters. And the Chain Lightning melee reduced chain damage from 31 to 27. All right, big changes all around the board. I would say Arc Web is probably the biggest one out of all this. Still gonna be good. You land that grenade right, it's gonna mess some folks up. Moving on to Attunement of Control. Ionic Trace, increased leyline height so it's more easily collected while airborne, increased the leyline travel in terms of its speed by 14%, increased leyline turn speed by 83%. Some funky numbers. Either way it goes, guys, those Ionic Traces that you get when you get kills should be able to make contact with you better, thus giving you ability energy. Chaos Reach, increased beam endpoint radius from 2 meters to 2.4 meters, reduce the intensity of the VFX to improve visibility. Seems like Bungie's trying to push us more to play Chaos Reach. Attunement of the Elements, Electrostatic Surge, now correctly increases class ability regen when near allies. Note, was mistakenly increasing super regen previously. Ah, look at Bungie. Now moving on. Voidwalker, Attunement of Fission. Handheld Supernova got a reduction in range by 20%. Increased activation time by 0.6. Reduced hold time from 3.5 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Also, the Bolt Explosion now does self-damage. They did, however, tighten the horizontal spread of the bolts by 25% and reduce the bolt explosion radius from 3 meters to now 2.5. The main thing to take away from, you gotta aim, boys. My handheld Supernova guys that sits at high comp and all they do is just sit there behind a corner with their charged up grenade. Now you gotta have your reticle somewhat on your opponent. I love it. Moving on, Nova Warp got an increase in damage reduction from 49% to 51%, increased idle super duration from 22 seconds to 24 seconds, and it got a reduction in cost of Dark Blink by 12.5%. My God, you're not gonna be able to keep up with them. My advice, somebody pops a Nova Warp, just run. Run! Dark Matter, increased grenade recharge on kill from 10% to 14%. All right, my handheld Supernova guys, you cannot complain. You're gonna get your grenade back more often, you got a better super, and you got a tightened horizontal spread of your bolts. Come on, come on! Attunement of Hunger, Vortex, increase the linger duration from 5 seconds to 7, reduce the linger damage per tick from 27 to 24, increase the projectile speed by 33%, and Nova Bomb kills now proc Devour. Hot damn it. Now Devour, increased Devour duration from 10 seconds to 11, gained Insatiable, kills now grant between 16% and 24% grenade energy, depending on the tier of enemy you just killed. Player kills are 24%, so they're at the max end. Bungie trying to get people to use Devour more? It's definitely gonna have a place in Trials. I mean, hands down. Devour in Elim, so beneficial. The fact that it can proc on Nova Bomb kills. Oh! Moving on, Dawnblade, Attunement of Sky, Heat Rises. Fix an issue in which Heat Rises buff was causing combatants to ignore you. Oh dude, I thought that was just a cool perk. Icarus Dash, fix an issue in which Icarus Dash cooldown was interfering with the Daybreak dodge. Thank God. Dude, that was so annoying. All the more reason to play Top Tree Dawn, right? You kind of get the best of both worlds. You essentially gain Twilight Garrison without having to play a Titan with better mobility. I'm still pissed off, okay? I'm just letting you know. Bungie, I'm still pissed off. I've yet to see Twilight come back. Now moving on, Armor. Increase the number of armor sets available from roll drops to a whopping 11 sets, up from 3. Several sets that were previously unavailable or extremely difficult to come by are now available as roll drops. Now, Armor Energy. You can now change the energy type of any piece of armor to either the other 2 energy types directly from the armor piece inspection screen by hovering the cursor over the armor energy icon. The cost of changing the armor to another energy type at energy value 1 is 1 upgrade module. You can also change the armor to another energy type at the equivalent energy to its current energy value. The cost for doing so is 1 upgrade module plus the aggregate cost of upgrading from one energy value 1 to its current energy value. We saw that a second ago in the trailer breakdown. Really cool feature that Bungie added to Armor 2.0. Now moving on, armor stats. Prime Ingrams will now more reliably drop armor with higher overall stat rolls and spikier distributions. Exotic armor will now more reliably drop with higher overall stat rolls. Legendary armor now has an improved chance of receiving higher overall stat rolls, though low rolls will still be present. Now moving on, armor mods. The seasonal armor mod socket, for example, Undying mods and Dawn mods, can now equip mods released during the season in which it was released, plus the previous season and the following season. For example, armor with Dawn mod sockets from season 9 can now equip Dawn mods, Undying mods from season 8, and Worthy mods from season 10. So if you already got like a good Dawn set, kind of get the best of both worlds this season. But to prepare for next season, depending on the mods too, for this season, which is currently season 10, you may want to have a Worthy armor mod set, which you most likely will. Sounds like the way armor stats are going to be distributed, as well as RNG, should be easier to get a very sexy set of armor with good stat distribution. Now moving on, the hands-on mod now provides energy on projectile melee kills, such as the Hunter's Throwing Knife. This is, of course, the mod that gives you super energy on melee kills. I did not know it did not work on projectile melee kills. That's a big one. Enhanced armor mods have been added to cover all weapon types for all armor mods that have an enhanced version. All right, big changes, big changes. Moving on, let's get into the exotics. Assassin's Cowl. The invisibility and healing effect now triggers on power melees, both against combats and guardians and finishers. The duration of the visibility granted by this exotic increased based on the tier of enemy defeated. Also, arc staff kills no longer activate this perk. Now, Frosties change the ability regeneration so that it no longer stacks multiplicatively with other class ability energy generating perks. Khepri Sting. All of your smoke bombs deal 150% damage while wearing this exotic. Then, of course, you also get True Sight, guys. Khepri actually could be for real nasty. Orpheus Riggs. The maximum amount of super you regain from this exotic with a single use of Shadow Shot is 50%. Now, Young Hamkara Spine increase the explosion radius for trip mines by 14%. Going to be excellent in game modes like elimination, trials. Locking down areas is going to be key, and trip mines are going to help with that greatly. Now moving on, Titan Ashen Wake. Killing an enemy with a fusion grenade while wearing this exotic now refunds grenade energy. The amount of grenade energy refunded scales based on the tier of enemy killed. Very sexy. Moving on, Antaeus Wards. The shield created during slide no longer allows chip damage through. That is a big one, man. I played with Antaeus for like the past 3-4 days inside of comp. I wanted to see how those exotics already do currently. They're already really good. You just got to get your slide down. You got to mentally check with yourself at all times, as there is a cooldown period when you slide. But now that it's not going to allow chip damage through, big one, fellas. Major, major change. Antaeus are going to be disgusting. Doomfang Pauldrons. Fix an issue where Doomfang Pauldrons would sometimes grant super energy from melee kills while in your super. A huge bummer. Rest in peace, Doomfang. Moving on, Doom Marchers. Increase the radius of static charge to 20 meters. Up from 12 meters. Absolutely crazy, but let's go. MK44 stand asides. Reduce the delay from start of sprint until the overshield comes in to 0.5 seconds, down from 1.25 seconds. Fellas, if you've never played with Juggernaut back inside of Destiny 1, this is going to be like the next best thing, essentially. You'll be able to run around everywhere, have an overshield at all times. I have actually not sat down and tested how much you can tank with that overshield, but even if it's something simple, like a sniper shot. Oh, now one-eye mask. The target marking for this exotic has been replaced, now with target highlighting, eliminating the ability to detect targets through walls. No longer provides a damage bonus when defeating your marked target. Restore the previous overshield granted by defeating your marked target, which now has a duration of 6 seconds, down from 8. Severance Enclosure. The explosion now triggers on power melee, both against combatants and guardians, as well as finishers. The radius and damage of the explosion created by this exotic increase based on the tier of enemy defeated. Fellas, I'm expecting Mega Explosion. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. Like inside of Crucible, you get a guardian kill with a melee. I think it's going to be somewhat of a semi-nuke. Am I setting myself up for disappointment? Maybe, but I think it's going to be nasty. Moving on, Warlocks. Hypothesis Veil. This exotic is now guaranteed to drop with a minimum plus 16 to intellect. Controverse Hold. reduced the damage reduction granted by this exotic to 20% down from 40. I still can't believe it was 40%. Do you know how many times I've been killed by a man with a handheld supernova and controverse hold? Too many! Them damn bastards, they're right up there. You hear me? There's like a hierarchy of what I hate to go against, and them handheld bastards are up there. Moving on, Sanguine Alchemy. They actually redesigned the perk called Blood Magic now that allows for the wearer to pause the countdown timer of any rift that they are standing in by getting weapon kills, extending the rift's duration. This is actually a huge change for PvE, like mega big. Ophidian Aspects now increase the lunge range of all Warlock melees, even if the ability is on cooldown. Big changes. Warlock melees from Africa is back. Now, it's not gonna be 9 meters, and I don't believe it's gonna go past 6.5. Did I read that correctly? 6.5 is the max, right? Unless it stacks. If it stacks for the other melees that have extended range, we might actually reach that 8-9 meter range. Verity's Brow. The buff provided by this exotic now increases your grenade damage by 10% per stack. The buff to allies' grenade recharge rates now kicks in when you cast your grenade. The wearer of this exotic now receives the buff text notification indicating how many allies are currently benefiting from your increased grenade recharge. Verity's Brow, throwing some arc web, baby, or even like top tree Voidwalker. You know it's nasty, fellas. Moving on, we now get into the weapons. Izanagi's Burden. Honed Edge animation is no longer affected by reload speed. Outlaw has now been replaced by no distractions. This is most definitely a nerf to Izanagi's Burden, although it could have been worse. Moving on, the last word. Now just the precision scaler of the weapon while hip firing. Impact values have now been adjusted, essentially doing 68.27 per precision shot and 52.2 damage per precision shot while aiming down sights. Previously, it was a flat 67.95 for both shooting from the hip and aiming down sights. Now, non-precision shots do 38.38. Previously, it was 50.50. A ginormous nerf here to last word. Also, they go on to say that aiming down sights no longer provides additional effective range. They reduced the stability from mouse and keyboard input. Also, they adjusted the target acquisition in its hip fire form to improve the experience and reduce the effective range of the weapon. Now, granted, last word was absolutely overpowered here on PC. It's one of the few weapons that you just cannot do anything against unless you could just get a lot of range on them. But even at that, it just did so much damage with so much ease of use. Now, moving on. Fighting Lion. Due to back-end changes with the grenade launcher archetype, Fighting Lion inherited minor adjustments. Got a rate of fire increase from 72 rounds per minute to 90, and got a direct hit damage in PvE to 35, previously 27. All around, Fighting Lion got a good buff. Moving on, Devil's Ruin fixed a bug that allowed pyrogenesis to proc in unintended circumstances, allowing the laser to be fired repeatedly. No! Actually, that was a really hard bug to pull off. I tried it so many times. Couldn't do it. You could just sit there and keep firing it over and over again in its charged up fusion rifle form. Now, moving on, Symmetry fixed an issue that caused a weapon to randomly stop firing. Fixed an issue where this weapon could damage allies under some circumstances. Man, I thought that was the perk, right? Get like Symmetry times 15. Look at your teammate that's been bumping into you the whole time and just blast them. Lord of Wolves. Release the Wolves now significantly reduces the accuracy of the weapon while active. They also reduce the stability for mouse and keyboard input. I hope this is enough, fellas. I hope it's enough. Lord of Wolves, probably the dumbest weapon currently in the game right now. Maybe it is. Maybe that's enough. I don't know. We'll just have to test it out. Moving on, swords. Sword attacks for all sword types have been altered, generally increase in efficacy to account for the energy system. Sword stats are now the following: impact, swing speed, charge rate, how fast this weapon recharges its energy, guard resistance, damage reduction while guarding with this weapon against most attacks, guard efficiency, reduce the amount of energy required to guard an attack, guard endurance, how long can you maintain your guard with this weapon, and ammo capacity. Now, the sword energy itself. Swords can now replace your melee ability with sword energy meter while wielded. This energy recovers naturally on its own and is consumed by different swords related actions. Light attacks. Light attack strings can now endlessly loop on all sword sub-archetypes. Light attacks for all sub-archetypes can now cleave to hit multiple enemies. Now, heavy attacks. Heavy attacks have consumed your sword energy when activated. Note, different swords can consume different amount of energy based on the attack used. If your energy is full, your attack is stronger. The reverse is also true. So actually sitting there and timing your heavy attack, maybe doing things with your rolls to gain that super energy or that sword energy faster may be extremely beneficial. Now, guard action. Guarding no longer consumes ammo, but instead uses the stored energy while active. Note, you still require a minimum of 1 available ammo to begin guarding. Now, shield bypass. A portion of damage from sword attacks now bypass elemental shields to strike the target directly. Note, there are exceptions to this rule, particularly for projectile-based attacks that swords generate. I wonder what the exception is. And I wonder if this actually works against barrier champions. I know it mentions here elemental shields, but if it can work against barrier champions, that'd be pretty nice. Now moving on, sword perks. Whirlwind Blade. This effect will now also end if the player guards. Multi-hit attacks no longer count as more than 1 hit. Hot damn, that's a big one. On guard, reduce the damage bonus from 50% to 30%. What? Shattering Blade. Reduce the damage bonus from 3 times to 1.67. God dog it, Bungie. You're killing my sword bros. Energy Transfer. Reduce the amount of ability energy gain from this perk due to guard no longer consuming ammunition. Counterattack. Change the activation requirements. Blocking an attack immediately after guarding increases damage for a short duration. Duration is now 2 seconds, previously 5. What the piss? God dog. I have 1 sword, my 1 Titan sword, my 1 Throne Cleaver with counterattack. 2 seconds? That's all we get? 2 seconds? Glide can no longer be activated during sword attacks or other full body melee attacks. Wow, that's actually, whoa, that's huge. That's a big one. Okay, everything we just mentioned here is huge, but okay. Why? Now, grenade launchers. Aggressive frame grenade launchers are now all rapid fire frame grenade launchers. Now, these rapid fire frame grenade launchers have had their damage reduced to account for the rate of fire, now doing 0.8 times, but now also have increase in reserves. Previously, aggressive frame grenade launchers fire faster than adaptives, but had the same damage. Damage to major enemies and above by power weapon grenade launchers have been reduced by 10%. Sniper rifles. Damage to major enemies and above reduced to pre-Shadowkeep values by -20%. Adaptive snipers have also had the precision multiplier drop from 3.25 times to 2.95. Yes, that's right, guys. It will not be able to snipe supers, but it will leave them 1 shot. Rapid fire sniper rifles has had their body shot damage drop from 100 to now 90, meaning you cannot sit there and 2-shot body shot people across the map. Shotguns. Target acquisition for non-slug shotguns has been adjusted to no longer account for precision locations. Previously, target acquisition could actually cause the player's spread to deviate from the intended aim vector, causing most of the spread to miss. Cone angle is now adjusted on a per sub archetype basis and is no longer adjusted by the range stat. Aiming down sights no longer adjusts effective range for this weapon archetype. Big changes there to shotguns, guys. You can look at it in a multitude of ways. Number 1, anything in its intended range, shotguns are still going to be very good, maybe even better, considering they're going to be more consistent. But it does appear that across the board, shotguns are getting a nerf there to range, thus getting a nerf there to 1-hit kill potential. May not even be able to kill at 9 meters anymore, which was like the hallmark of a good shotgun. 8.5, 9 meters is what you wanted. Again, this is for non-slug shotguns. Now, next up, fusion rifles. Target acquisition for fusion rifles has been adjusted to no longer account for precision locations. So essentially the same change. Previously, fusion rifles had deviation due to those precision locations, so it should be easier to use. Now, damage fall off for this weapon archetype can now floor at 0.5 times, previously 0.75. Effective range and the impact of the optic stat for this weapon archetype has been reduced across the board. So things like zoom, as well as just range in general, has had a reduction, and the damage floor itself means it will experience greater damage fall off, as in that curve will be steeper in this sandbox than it was in the last. Now moving on. The auto rifles. Following impact values have been changed. Precision frame does 27.2 per precision shot and 17 per body. Previously, it was 17 per body and 25.5. Adaptives do 25.2 per precision and 15.75 per body. Previously, it was 22 per crit and 13.75. Rapid fire frames, 20.1 per crit and 13.4 per body. Previously, it was 18.75 per crit and 12.5 per body. Big changes, guys. The main thing to take away from this, adaptives to me look like they're going to be the strongest. Rapids are going to be good, but I'm going to be looking at weapons like Hard Light to be absolutely disgusting in this season's sandbox. Now moving on to weapon perks that are being changed. Backup plan. Backup plan now adjusts impact to match the rapid fire sub archetype while active. Charge time is now set to match the rapid fire sub archetype, 0.85 while active. Main thing to take away from this, guys, backup plan is not going to be the go-to choice for high impact archetypes. Not going to say it's not going to be good, it just won't be what it is now. Now, 1-2 punch. The effect now ends upon dealing damage or swapping weapons. Wow. All right. I guess they really wanted to go after 1-2 punch. I guess they don't want you to quick swap, right? Like people were doing the tractor cannon, 1-2 punch combo into their melees. Okay. Now we also have some general fixes. Fix an issue with the missive elements on the following weapons and ornaments. 1000 Voices, Summer Storm for Wrist Runner, Jade Countenance for Fighting Lion. They also fix an issue where multi-kill clip would remain active indefinitely. Fix an issue where killing Shanks with Lumina would not reliably generate a remnant. Fix an issue where the Wish Ender would deal more damage than intended when shooting through certain objects. Fixed an issue where large portions of Packmaster's command ornament for Lord of Wolves would disappear when standing next to a wall. Sounds like a bunch of bug fixes. Either way it goes, guys, those are going to be fixed. Now moving on, we have some player identity systems. Things like our emblems, stat trackers. Emblems now use an updated detail screen to support stat trackers. All emblems now have stat trackers that can be equipped and unequipped. The stat trackers available on an emblem are related to the emblem source or category. Stat trackers are broken down into categories based on the activity and time span. So activity categories are Seasons, Account, Crucible, Destination, Gambit, Raid, Strikes, and Trials of Osiris. Now time span categories are Weekly, Seasonal, and Career. Note, career stats respect pre-Season 10 data where possible, but otherwise will begin tracking in Season 10. Now stat trackers can become gilded when stats reach a certain threshold. Stat trackers now have their own dedicated section, which players can access through the Triumph screen. Stat trackers are categorized into Seasonal, Weekly, Career, and All. Stat trackers are subcategorized by stat tracker type. Feature Triumph on Triumph's overview have been reduced from displaying 3 to 1. Now collections. The emblem collection has been reorganized to reflect the stack tracker structure. Emblem variants. Emblem variants have been converted into their own emblem items. Emblem perk and auras. Emblem perk and auras have been removed from the emblems. All right, guys, big changes, man. Those stat trackers, the fact that they can become gilded is huge. Like, I don't really fall into the stat thing. I don't really care about them. I don't really pay attention to them. Now I might actually pay attention to them. Now clans. Clan banner perks have been updated for Season 10. Not sure what that means. Do we have new perks? Okay. Accessories. Ships. Fix an effects issue on Lost Legends engines. Ghosts. Fix an animation issue with Sanctum Plate Shell. Sparrows. Updated thruster effects for Dawning Sparrows, Chill of Winter, and Holiday Cheer. Fix an effects issue for the Azura Zazel and the Bronco. Alright, so those are your changes to emblems, as well as other identity systems, some various accessories. Moving on! Investment. The Season 9 Fond Memories Bright Ingram has been retired, and in its place, players can now obtain the new Season 10 Luminous Bright Ingram. Bright Ingrams are no longer available for purchase in the Eververse store, and instead can be earned by leveling up the Season Pass. In place of the Bright Ingram, the Eververse store now offers a silver sale item that will refresh daily. The Gunsmith now has a chance of selling Season 9 seasonal armor mods. Wait, what? Gunsmith now has a chance of selling the Season 9 armor mods? So like the ones earned from the Obelisk? For real? Now, Improved Crucible Scanner. This is a ghost shell perk that has been created and has a chance to roll on Crucible-themed ghosts. 2 new consumables are available in Eververse store for Bright Dust, the Scavenger's Boon, and the Glimmer Shard. Both cost 250 Bright Dust each. Scavenger's Boon. When used, this item causes enemies killed with precision damage to have a chance to drop planetary materials when defeated. The effect lasts for 4 hours. Note that only one Scavenger's Boon can be active at a time. Glimmer Shard. When used, the item causes bosses to have a chance to drop additional Glimmer when defeated. The effect also lasts for 4 hours, and only one Glimmer Shard can be active at a time. Now, multiple bug fixes to ensure various legendary Ingram previews accurately represent their contents. Shadowkeep campaign reward exotic armor now has a proper source string in collections. Eververse store bundles with prices that have been reduced to owning some of the content no longer are advertised as sell and instead read complete the set. Season 8 weapons acquired from Season Pass now have a valid source string in collections. Several multiplayer emotes that had an item type of emote now have the correct item type on their tooltip multiplayer emote. Year 3 exotic armor in Zer's inventory now properly requires Shadowkeep instead of the Season Pass. Mod components no longer dismantle as a stat. Now, there's also been a power and progression update. Updated XP rewards from Mars ambient chests in public spaces to be consistent with Shadowkeep values. Reduce the power of the incomplete version of Legend of Acreus when purchased from a vendor. Paid character boost raises the player to a new soft cap of 950. Note, players cannot purchase a character boost until their first character has reached the soft cap. Alright, I guess that's good. I'm all for people being able to get into the game, play whatever they want to play. Again, the concern here lately has been cheaters who could possibly go in there and get burn accounts. Now, we also have some interface changes changes. I'm just gonna put them on the screen. There's a bunch of stuff here, which are all great. Things that affect console users, the ability to change reticle on consoles, as well as the updated quest screen, which is arguably the best change. We also have a number of general bug fixes and quality of life stuff, which I'm not gonna read through, but there is a ton. So if any of these bugs have been affecting you in any kind of way, feel free to take a look at that. Again, in the description below is a link to this update if you want to read it directly. Last but not least, Crucible, yes, Trials of Osiris is returning at last. You'll be able to talk to Saint 14 in the tower to begin your Trials journey. The Trials playlist will become available on Friday, March the 13th. Well, guys, that is update 2.8.0. It was a long one. It was a big one. We'll be testing these changes out over the next few weeks, as well as covering all the new content that is dropping today. So I'll see you all then. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.